Hi, I'm Claire Aiken with the Bonsai Resource Center, and today, thank you for joining me. We're going to talk about how to get started with bonsai trees and our tips for success in your bonsai growing journey. I'm Claire and I love bonsai trees. I think they're so magical and mysterious. And so today I want to share my passion with you and help you, whether you're a novice bonsai grower or whether you're just getting started, to really enjoy this 1,000-year-old hobby that is just so fulfilling and so beautiful. So I created the Bonsai Resource Center because I really wanted to simplify this incredible hobby into, something that the everyday person could get into, whether you're short on time or, maybe you've never grown any plants before. I wanted to make it as easy as possible to get started on your bonsai journey. So I'm going to give you plenty of tips for growing healthy, happy bonsai trees and how to sort of challenge yourself along the way. It's my goal to equip you with everything you need to know and to give you the most common challenges and the tools to overcome them in a hurry. So a lot of people call bonsai trees a tree in a tray, and it's actually a 1,000-year-old hobby that a lot of people are drawn to because it basically takes the majesty and the beauty of nature from outdoors and brings it indoors. So bonsai is the art of growing trees in small containers. So this actually started in ancient China, but it really took off in 13th century Japan, where people became bonsai experts and the hobby really started to gain traction. Before about World War II, bonsais were really only available to, private, very wealthy art collectors. But after World War II in the United States, the hobby really took off and you started to be able to access bonsai trees here in America. So the goal of growing a bonsai tree is to kind of clip it and grow it into a unique and beautiful shape. And so you can use pruning, you can use wire, and you can use different techniques to shape your bonsai tree into something that actually is an art form of your own. So the goal is to have your own mini representation of the forest at home sitting in front of you. And so it's a really very unique traditional art form that really can't be matched by any other hobby. So beyond being a lot of fun, there are some benefits to growing bonsai trees. So first of all, they do purify the air like any other houseplant. Second, there's studies that show looking at a bonsai tree can actually lower your blood pressure and lower your stress level. They can also promote productivity and help you stay focused, so they're great for an office setting. There's also studies that show an increase in feelings of goodwill and feelings of healthiness when you spend some time looking at a bonsai tree. They actually increase the relative humidity within your space. And of course, bonsai trees are a great way to beautify your space. So if you've got stress, you should get a bonsai. One other really cool thing about bonsai trees is that they really help us to become stronger, more resilient people. It's a very challenging art form and a challenging hobby. And so I think that caring for a bonsai helps us to improve our resilience, also to cultivate patience, to spark your own creativity, and also to grow your self-awareness in the way that you impact other things in the natural world. I think developing your bonsai confidence really helps you to develop confidence in other areas of your life. And it's also just a calming routine to care for your bonsai each week. So let's talk about what bonsai trees need to be happy. Like all plants, bonsais need a few things: sunlight, nutrition, water, and love. But unlike some other houseplants with bonsai trees, it's even more specific than that. They are very particular about the soil, nutrition, and lighting conditions that they need. So bonsai trees do need a high amount of light, and actually most of them are happiest if they can spend at least a portion of the year outside. So if you could put your bonsai tree outside in sort of the more temperate months, depending on where you live, that's really good for them in the long term to get adequate light, high humidity, and just the natural elements that they need to do really well. Similar to if you grow orchids, putting your orchids outside in the spring and summer can really help them to rebloom the next year. Bonsais are the same. If they can spend a little bit of time outdoors, they're going to do a lot better. Keeping your bonsai indoors is really all about light. They need a lot of indirect light. You don't want to have direct light that could burn them or get them too hot, but they need bright indirect light. Even if you have a pretty sunny home, to get your bonsai tree to grow, you may need to use a grow light to give it a little bit more light to do photosynthesis and have energy to grow bigger. The next thing they need is humidity. Like all plants, they love humidity, but bonsais are really susceptible to drying out. And so generally they love humidity. You want to keep it as humid as possible for them. Some options for increasing humidity is to use a moisture tray, or to group them with other plants, or to simply just use a humidifier to increase the relative humidity. And then for your bonsai tree, you're really going to want to keep the temperature right. And so they like very mild temperate temperatures. They don't like to be too hot or too cold. Avoid putting them anywhere that they're going to get direct light, like on a windowsill that gets direct sun or next to a heater. Make sure that if you do use a grow light, you keep it 10 to 12 inches away, or read the manufacturer's instructions so you're not scorching your plant with your grow light. And then they actually like decent airflow, so you're going to want to make sure that they're not in a stagnant area and they get plenty of fresh air. So to get started on your bonsai journey, I want to go through some of the most easy to grow bonsais. A few of the most popular indoor friendly bonsai trees include the ficus or the fig. The second is the Fujian tree. The third is the dwarf umbrella. The Chinese elm makes a really good option as well. A jade tree, and the snow rose tree, which is really, really beautiful. So to give you the highest chance of success, you're really going to want to pick a bonsai that's going to be suited to your climate. So look for the brightest area of your home, especially during the growing season, which would be spring through fall. But of course, always protect your plant from the hottest rays of the sun during, the noontime part of the day. And then you can always move or rotate your plant because they are portable. And so if there's a space in your home that would be really good in the spring and the fall, but too hot in the summer, just remind yourself to move your plant so that it's always in a good location. And then consider doing a little bit of grow lights in the winter and making sure that your plant has adequate conditions during the winter when your home may be colder and drier. So bonsais actually do really well outside depending on your climate. And so I'll give you a couple of options for growing bonsais outside depending on where you live. So if you live in a tropical or subtropical warm area, a ficus is a perfect plant for you. A mini jade, an olive. I just love the olive bonsai trees. They're so cute and they're so popular right now. A bougainvillea, and then an apple bonsai or other bonsai fruit trees that also come in lemon or cherry, and these are just darling additions. And then for cooler climates, you could do a pine, a Japanese maple, an oak, a spruce, a juniper, and a cypress. And these are common forest trees, but they do come in bonsai versions, and they're just really, really beautiful with, some coloration on the leaves and things like that. So those are a great option for cooler climates. One of the most important things to do is to fertilize your bonsai, because they are trapped in a tray and they're not getting, the rejuvenation of the soil that they would in the wild or outdoors. They're depleting the nutrients of the soil. So it's really important to constantly fertilize them. We have a bonsai fertilizer that is specifically developed with the perfect NPK ratio. It's very gentle. There's no mixing. There's no mess. All you do is add 1 teaspoon per plant to your water and use it every single time you water. So I recommend feeding your bonsai plant throughout the spring, summer, and the fall, and then you could kind of take it easy in the winter. Another really important thing is using the right soil for your plant. So bonsai trees love a very fast-drying soil that mimics, soil in nature that is constantly draining. And so we actually make a bonsai soil mix that we've tested with bonsai growers, and it's a really fine, beautiful mix that has a proprietary blend of biochar, of mulch, of topsoil, of worm castings, of all kinds of different nutrients that just are really great for bonsai roots and also for the growth and the nutrients that your bonsai needs. So let's talk about watering your bonsai tree. So the first step is to pay attention, and don't just water on a schedule. Pay attention to what your plant might need. The watering needs of your plant might change during the seasons based on how hot it is, based on, how much sunlight there is, based on how much your plant is growing. So you really have to pay attention and start to grow your intuition for your plant. So the technique for watering your bonsai that I really like is to completely drench the bonsai soil and wait for it to drain, maybe 10% of the water to drain through. And then wait for your soil to dry out, maybe a week, maybe more, before you completely drench it again. If you need help, you could get a soil meter, which can actually tell you how moist your soil is. But over time, you'll develop your confidence and your intuition of when is the proper time to water your plant. So the most common problems that I see with bonsai trees is, first of all, overwatering. A lot of times because your tree is right on your desk or in your home, you're going to want to water it all the time and kill it with kindness. These plants do not like too much water, and they will die if they're overwatered. The second is underwatering. Because they do like sort of a fast draining soil, it's easy for their root system to dry out, which is also dangerous for them. If you see your soil becoming very light, very dry, and maybe your leaves getting dry or falling off, this could be underwatering, and you're going to want to just water your plant a little more often. And then a very, very common problem is too little light. You may not know how much light is in your home, but our soil meter actually has a light probe, so you can see how much light is in your house, and it may be less than you suspect. But if it's reading too low, you're going to want to move your plant to a sunnier location or use a grow light to make sure it's getting adequate supply of light. And then also another problem I see is too much light. So if you're seeing yellowing of leaves, crispy leaves, burnt looking leaves, this is all conditions of too hot or too bright of light. So you're going to want to want to make sure to pull your bonsai back from the window or put it in a different location. Two other problems that I see with bonsais are over-fertilization, and this often happens when you use slow-release fertilizer, which is why I never recommend slow-release fertilizer. I always like a liquid fertilizer that's going to be very gentle that you can use every time you water. That way you know exactly how much your plant is getting and you don't have to guess, if I fertilized it 6 weeks ago, how do I know how much is left and how do I know when to fertilize again? So the signs of over-fertilizing are browning leaf tips, black or browning roots, and yellow and wilting leaves. So it almost looks the same as leaves that have been burnt by the sun. But if you know your plant hasn't been burnt by the sun and you suspect over-fertilizing, that may be a clue. If you do find that you've over-fertilized your plant, you're going to want to repot it and then flush it out with water to remove some of those chemicals and salts from the fertilizer. Another thing that happens all the time is pests. So unfortunately, pests can eat away the leaves of your plant. So if you see, kind of jagged or holes in your plant's leaves, you're going to want to make sure there's no pests. Pull out a magnifying glass and look for evidence of kind of spider webs on your plant or physical bugs on your plant. If that happens, you're going to want to rinse off your plant and use some sort of a pest treatment. We make a spray that naturally deters any pests on your plant, and so that's a great thing to spray if you are really suspecting insect damage. So to get started with your bonsai hobby, the first thing you're going to need to do is pick out your plant. And so find the plant that you love the most and buy that plant. But you're also going to need a little tray with the proper soil. So you can get a bonsai soil to plant your plant. So you need the tray and the soil. The next things I recommend is really good pruning shears. We make these beautifully designed pruning shears that are super sharp. They're perfect for bonsai enthusiasts and they look really good stored next to your bonsai plant. And so it's great to get the shears in advance so you can start learning to prune your plant. Another thing you're going to want to order is training wire, and this helps you to wire your plant and get it to grow in the direction and the shape that you want it to grow. And then it's nice to get a little rake so that you can rake the soil and make sure that the soil of your plant looks very clean, very orderly. This is also a super calming and soothing ritual to do. And then the last thing that you need is an abundance of patience because it takes a long time for your bonsai to grow and it can be a bit frustrating, but taking care of your bonsai and raking the soil really can help you to cultivate patience in your life. Now, I know we just kind of scratched the surface on getting started with bonsai trees, but here's a couple book recommendations if you want to take a deeper dive and learn more. I have 3 books that I really love about the art of bonsai, and I will link them below. They all make beautiful coffee table books, and you'll learn a lot by reading them. If you have questions, we have answers. So check out the Bonsai Resource Center. You can read our blogs, you can watch our videos, and you can ask a question if you have any questions about your bonsai tree. Thank you so much for watching this webinar. I will link to a coupon. If you want to shop our store, you could buy our fertilizer, our soil, our pruning shears, and even our soil meter. And I hope you enjoyed this webinar. I hope it was helpful. Please comment if you have any questions and share with friends if you thought that this was a fun webinar. Thanks, and I'll see you next time.